A major drug bust centered around Toronto's Pearson International Airport has led to the arrests of 11 people, including 2 employees of the low-cost airline Sunwing.
$2.9 million worth of drugs found at Atlanta's airport. One man now arrested after police say he was trying to get the drugs to...
Imagine the busiest airport you pass through every day is actually an underground fortress of the most notorious drug cartel in the world. At exactly 4:58 in the morning on the 19th of November 2025, the false calm at Detroit Metro was torn apart when FBI and DHS Special Forces stormed the office of Evelyn Markham, the most powerful woman in Michigan's aviation industry. But what they found was not management documents, but millions of dollars in cash and evidence of a horrific betrayal. How did she turn the airport into a superhighway for CJNG right under the government's nose? Let's expose the darkest secret of Operation Wolverine Shield right now. At exactly 4:58 in the morning on the 19th of November 2025, the sky above Michigan's largest airport was still shrouded in thick darkness and the bone-chilling cold of approaching winter. But beneath the runways, speckled with signal lights, a hidden storm was about to erupt as a joint task force of FBI and DHS special agents silently moved into the most heavily guarded administrative area. Their target was not an agitated passenger or a single suspicious package, but the private office of the airport's top executive director, Evelyn Markham, the 46-year-old woman who wielded more power in the state's aviation sector than anyone else. And this raid, codenamed Operation Wolverine Shield, was not merely an arrest, but the opening shot in an unprecedented large-scale purge against the boldest infiltration ever by a foreign drug cartel into critical United States infrastructure. As the agents smashed through the luxurious wood-paneled door of Markham's office, the naked truth of her betrayal stared them in the face, erasing any lingering doubt about her loyalty to the state of Michigan, because sprawled across the massive desk were not airport expansion plans or aviation security reports, but 3 encrypted hard drives packed with CJNG routing codes, along with more than $72 million in cash neatly stacked. Nearby investigators also discovered dozens of restricted area access badges issued to individuals who had absolutely no personnel records at the airport, many of whom were later identified as core members of the CJNG cartel. The message at the scene was crystal clear. This was not petty corruption or managerial negligence, but a deliberate inside takeover that had transformed Michigan's largest aviation hub into a cartel command center disguised as a state agency, and Evelyn Markham was the chief architect of this criminal empire. As the investigation spilled beyond the 4 walls of Markham's office, the true scale of the network emerged darker and more intricate than any federal agency had dared predict, because Markham had not merely turned a blind eye to CJNG operations, she had actively built her own criminal empire from inside the airport's operational machinery. A secret internal audit conducted earlier had already uncovered that during her 4 years in power, she had quietly authorized 46 midnight cargo flights, every one of them flashing glaring red flags. Vague cargo manifests impossible total weights and routing codes that tied directly to CJNG-controlled air corridors in Mexico. Even more dangerously, Markham had embedded cartel personnel into high-access positions at the airport with 18 individuals who lacked proper qualifications, some even using false identities to infiltrate the national security system. With this insider network in place, Markham had engineered a seamless smuggling pipeline where drug shipments were offloaded from aircraft into secure warehouses, then loaded onto trucks belonging to shell companies operating out of Detroit, Ann Arbor, Flint, and Grand Rapids, all without ever facing a single inspection. Federal traces later confirmed that these transport routes had brought into the continental United States 2.9 tons of methamphetamine, 1.4 tons of cocaine, 450,000 fentanyl pills, and more than $127 million in dirty money that had been laundered through aviation consulting accounts. Evelyn Markham's corruption did not stop with herself. It engulfed her family as well, with her 19-year-old son Adrian Markham fully entangled in the game. Personnel records revealed that she had arranged for her son to join the night logistics crew, granting him access to restricted areas and surveillance data. Footage later captured Adrian personally orchestrating the movement of shipments, signaling unloading crews, and relaying messages to CJNG drivers. Adrian became a well-trained junior operator under his mother, helping the system run so smoothly that CJNG members began referring to Detroit Metro Airport with the arrogant nickname La Puerta del Norte, or the North Gate, in reference to its unique position in the international smuggling network. By the time federal analysts finished mapping the entire Markham-backed web, a shocking conclusion was reached. The state of Michigan had been completely infiltrated, and the security breach stretched from the runways of Detroit Metro Airport to central transport warehouses and clandestine airstrips scattered across the state. Deep inside a secret command center buried beneath the DHS field office in Detroit, high-ranking officials now stood clustered around a wall of glowing screens. The screens blazed with satellite maps, real-time traffic telemetry, and live drone feeds tracking suspected cartel convoys. The air in the room was thick with tension, charged like the final seconds before a major storm breaks. Acting DHS Regional Director Michael Rohr stepped forward, his voice low but razor-sharp, and declared that this was no longer just a drug bust. It was a counterintelligence operation because a cartel had weaponized America's own contracted airport and its people against the country. At exactly 2:14 in the morning, the attack order was given, and within seconds, nearly 840 federal agents launched simultaneously from staging areas across Detroit, Dearborn, Lansing, and Grand Rapids. Black SUVs with headlights doused moved like a convoy of ghosts along deserted freeways, while DHS armored vehicles peeled off in multiple directions, zeroing in on warehouses already confirmed as CJNG strongholds, and FBI hostage rescue teams stood ready for the heavily fortified locations. From Selfridge Air National Guard Base, helicopters began lifting off their rotors, slicing through the frigid night air to approach targets from above. The first clash erupted at the River Rouge Industrial District in Detroit, where a warehouse masquerading as an aviation parts recycling facility turned into a battlefield the instant agents stormed in. Breaching charges ripped through reinforced steel doors, and stun grenades detonated inside, flooding the vast hall with blinding white light, while cartel gunmen, hidden behind stacked pallets, opened up blindly through the smoke. But the federal teams advanced in disciplined waves behind ballistic shields and steady rifle fire. How was Evelyn Markham able to secretly funnel tons of drugs through the airport for 4 straight years? Meanwhile, in Flint, a secondary assault met fiercer resistance when a CJNG cell barricaded itself inside a repurposed aircraft maintenance hangar, having welded shut every exit and reinforced the walls with steel plates. As agents closed in, cartel lookouts deployed weaponized drones carrying signal jamming modules that briefly scrambled communications. But FBI technical teams countered, instantly severing the interference and clearing the way for DHS armored vehicles to smash through the hangar doors. Inside, the hangar agents discovered endless rows of coarse burlap sacks stuffed with methamphetamine and pallets wrapped in thermal plastic, identical to the shipments Markham had personally signed off on at the airport. The fiercest firefight erupted in Grand Rapids, where a 3-truck convoy tied to Markham's network tried to flee as federal units tightened the noose. Helicopters tracked the vehicles from above, while highway patrol units set up spike strips near the eastern beltline, forcing the trucks to screech to a halt and tactical teams to swarm in, instantly neutralizing the drivers, one of whom reached for a concealed rifle under the tarp, but was dropped before he could raise it. By dawn, the operation had swept through 32 targets, arresting 67 CJNG members, 9 corrupt officials, and Adrian Markham himself, while he frantically tried to wipe the servers. This was no mere raid, it was a full-scale war ignited by an airport director's betrayal. When the gunfire finally stopped, the battlefield shifted to the FBI forensic labs, where analysts stared in stunned silence at the seized digital evidence. What they found was not chaos, but a digital system engineered with the precision of top-tier foreign intelligence. The breakthrough came when they cracked the hard drive containing a complete drug smuggling map from Detroit into Canada, confirming the airport's role as an international gateway under Markham's command. Financial ledgers disguised as consulting invoices had hidden the flow of more than $127 million laundered through shell entities, some of it even rerouted as charity donations back to Guadalajara. Most damning of all, a folder labeled Nexus exposed a roster of 48 airport employees ranging from security screeners to contracted TSA personnel who had been bribed or coerced into becoming active links in the CJNG machine. The Nexus files laid bare the intricate web of compromised personnel, some bribed, others coerced, including relatives of local officials. Most shocking were the direct message threads with CJNG Commander LV, a hero, that proved Markham wasn't a pawn, but a fully empowered strategic partner who personally negotiated terms and issued orders. Yet the killing blow was the deliberately erased security camera footage that perfectly aligned with Cartel flight schedules, confirming she had weaponized routine maintenance windows to create flawless blind spots for every illicit operation. In one recovered clip, Adrian Markham is seen guiding pallets into restricted zones while typing on his phone messages, later tied directly to encrypted CJNG communications, confirming his active operational role under his mother's command. By midday, the digital picture was complete. Evelyn Markham had engineered a fully integrated multi-state international drug pipeline that fused a Michigan airport into the cartel's strongholds across North America. She had corrupted employees, manipulated city departments, laundered millions of dollars, and wielded her authority to transform Detroit Metro Airport into the most valuable northern asset CJNG ever owned. For the federal agents reviewing the evidence, the chilling conclusion was that Michigan had not simply been infiltrated, it had been deliberately engineered into a cartel superhighway. When the final encrypted hard drive was cracked and the last warehouse in Grand Rapids cleared, the Joint Command realized they were not just looking at a smuggling operation. They were staring at the total collapse of an entire criminal empire built by one woman at the very heart of Michigan's aviation system. Evelyn Markham's empire, once hidden behind the gleaming glass of Detroit Metro Airport, was finally laid bare with the arrest numbers telling a story few in Washington could have imagined: 102 arrests across the state, 67 confirmed CJNG members, 9 corrupt officials including procurement overseers and county administrators, and 48 airport employees suspended or terminated. Authorities seized 4.3 tons of drugs and froze $138 million in assets across Michigan, Illinois, and Ontario. But the fallout stretched far beyond the arrests, as documents recovered during Operation Wolverine Shield referenced a phased expansion into Ohio, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, each targeted around airports with weak oversight or vulnerable leadership. The Department of Homeland Security issued an emergency nationwide directive for corruption screening at airports, the most aggressive aviation personnel review since the events of 9/11, and TSA leadership ordered immediate audits of all cargo handling operations at major United States airports, citing the Michigan case as a national red flag. Meanwhile, Evelyn Markham now faced the full weight of federal prosecution on charges of conspiring with a designated transnational criminal organization, large-scale drug trafficking, money laundering, public corruption, interference with aviation security systems, and endangering interstate and international commerce. Her 19-year-old son, Adrian, was separately charged with aiding and abetting drug trafficking, obstruction of justice, and handling prohibited cargo inside restricted federal aviation zones. With coordination between the FBI and DHS, the operation led to the arrest of hundreds of suspects, the seizure of tons of drugs, and hundreds of millions of dollars in assets, while exposing a sprawling corruption system stretching from airports to warehouses across the state. This was not merely a raid, it stood as a powerful symbol of the Make America Safe Again commitment under President Trump, underscoring the focus on protecting domestic borders and national security. The fight proved the effectiveness of law enforcement agencies in dismantling even the most sophisticated criminal networks. Meticulous evidence collection from encrypted hard drives, surveillance cameras, and financial records helped expose not only Markham but the entire system, including her son and numerous local officials, resulting in 102 arrests, 4.3 tons of drugs seized, and $138 million in assets frozen, effectively choking off the drug flow into the United States and Canada. The operation also spurred broader preventive measures such as nationwide airport corruption screenings and cargo audits, helping minimize similar risks in other states like Ohio and Wisconsin. This has strengthened public confidence in the justice system, reduced the societal damage caused by drugs addiction, violence, and human trafficking, while sending a resounding message to the cartels that America will show no mercy. The raids triggered violent confrontations like those in Flint and Grand Rapids that risked civilian and law enforcement casualties while heightening community tensions. Moreover, the fact that Markham, a high-ranking official, was able to build an empire in just 4 years exposed glaring oversight gaps that could resurface without radical reform. The operation has also drawn criticism for appearing politically motivated, prioritizing victory optics over lasting solutions, such as improved education, healthcare, and international cooperation with Mexico. Operation Wolverine Shield was a tactical success, yet underscored the need for balance between suppression and prevention. The war on drugs must move beyond a purely militarized approach to achieve sustainable results and avoid repeating cycles of violence and corruption. The Evelyn Markham case stands as a brutal wake-up call about the peril of misplaced trust. The biggest lesson is that modern crime no longer skulks only in the shadows. It has learned to hijack the very legal systems and administrative processes meant to stop it wrapping itself in perfect legitimacy. When an exemplary airport director becomes a smuggling kingpin, we are forced to admit that titles and power are no guarantee of integrity. True security demands ruthless cross-checking and oversight because the most terrifying threat is almost always the one hiding inside the institutions we have been taught to trust without question. Operation Wolverine Shield may have closed a dark chapter in Michigan, but the most haunting question remains unanswered once Evelyn Markham was proven to be a strategic partner and not a victim. The terrifying efficiency of her network left federal officials chilled to the bone. How many other airports across America are quietly operating as secret gateways for cartels right under our noses? Is the safety you trust truly solid or just a fragile facade waiting to collapse? What do you think about the depth of this infiltration? Are there more kingpins still hiding in the shadows? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next shocking criminal dossier.